You are watching the Weekend Sports Kickoff right here on KNWT, Channel 8. And welcome back into the Weekend Sports Kickoff on KZLX, KNWT Channel 8, and KNWT Facebook Live. I'm Devin Albertson. I'm joined by Jacob Blair, Trevor Mater, and Northwest Missourian sports editor Isaiah Swan.
What happened to his intro?
We were told we can't play that anymore. We just talked about MLB projections, but now it's time to talk about Northwest Missouri State signing day. We got into this a little bit, Isaiah, yesterday on Story Behind the Story here on KNWT, but we only got 5 minutes there, and today we got a lot more time to talk about it. So, no, we're ready to get into this. We're going to start with, of course, they signed 38 guys yesterday, but the big one is the quarterbacks. I want you to kind of talk about the quarterback Northwest signed on Wednesday.
Yeah, Mike Honnessy, let's talk about him. 2,500 yards, 24 touchdowns, averaged 258 yards per game. This guy was amazing from St. Charles, Illinois. 6'2", 210, massive quarterback. They're probably going to cut him a little bit on weight, but what we talked about yesterday was a lot. This is the perfect fit for a Northwest quarterback, a Brady Bowles type quarterback that really can move. He likes contact. He doesn't mind it, but he can also throw it. And when I say he can throw it, the long ball isn't his favorite ball, but what he really focuses in on, if you watch his huddle film, he really gets that ball out fast, and he really hits those slant routes exactly how you want to. I really like this guy a lot.
Good precision there. And, of course, his dad, also named Mike, played in the NFL back in 1987 for the Chicago Bears. 2 starts, 2 wins, of course, in the NFL.
I guess that was during the strike.
It might have been. He also played in the Reno Football League for a couple years, and he also coached for the Chicago Rush in the Reno Football League. So football runs through this guy's blood. So that's one guy to look up at Northwest, 6'2", 210, dual-threat guy. I mean, he's going to be fun to watch in a few years, I think.
I think and that's exactly what they need. You got Braden Wright, and you've got Kowalski waiting on the bench, and you've got 2 guys that they're gonna come up, and they're gonna probably provide the spark that Northwest needs this next season. But this is exactly what they needed. They needed a quarterback that they're really confident in. I think this is really great for them to get a guy like Mike, and I think he's going to be exactly what the coaching staff was looking for. I would say out of all the recruits, he was top 5, my favorite.
Okay, another guy that you really liked, a running back out of Liberty, Missouri, 6 foot, 175, Robert Rowie. What do you guys think of this guy?
Oh, man, when this guy gets in the open field, it's over. This dude is the second most explosive player on this list. He's got breakaway speed, man. When he starts, he gets the ball in open space, you can forget about it. 23 touchdowns on the year at Liberty, 2-time All-State running back. I mean, just watching this guy, once again, what Northwest does a good job of also is not to brag on him, but also point out that, he's an A-plus program participant, and they're not just recruiting athletes, they're recruiting that student part. He was named to the football academic honor roll as well. But I think to his talent, I mean, this is the most talented running back in the Northwest Kansas City metro area. I mean, this guy has got the talent. He's been playing against schools that have the competition that you'd like. This guy is explosive. I'm excited about this running back. Like I said, to even transition, a guy I even think of with Rye is Trey Wheaton. I mean, this is the guy that Coach Wright even said in the press conference is he didn't know how he got him. He one of 2 guys. They don't know how they even got him because this dude's ridiculous. Blue Springs, Class 6 school. He's been to 2 state titles, didn't win any of them, but the fact that he's been there at that Class 6 level, that's incredible. Over 1,000 all-purpose yards, 808 receiving yards, and 11 touchdowns, averaging 17 yards per catch. I mean, this guy's the real deal. This guy makes big plays. This is exactly, when I saw his name and I watched him, he looks exactly like Sean Bain does. He looks like a guy that's going to break free. It looks like he has a lot of extra talent, and really, I think he had a few other offers from some Division I schools, and I mean, this is an exciting guy that we had really no business recruiting.
And another guy, before we get to your last guy who's on your list here, LaTroy Harper at Penny High School, Hamilton, Missouri. Everybody's kind of seen his highlight film in the state championship game a couple years ago when he caught that one-handed catch, and he won our state title 2 years ago back in 2016 as a receiver. He played quarterback last year for the Hornets. Coach Wright showed his list of achievements in high school. 1 full page for football, flip it over, another whole page for basketball. This guy is a dynamic athlete. Another guy that he was really surprised that Northwest got. He was an all-state selection in basketball, holds the school record in the high jump, member of National Honor Society. I mean, this guy's another smart kid coming to Northwest. There's 2 guys there at the receiver position that are really dynamic players that'll be fun to watch here at Northwest in the next couple of years. But the last guy you have on here is a 6'3", 240-pound freshman defensive lineman from Staley High School, Mr. Tyler Miller.
Yeah, and if you notice, the guys that I really like and I'm excited about, they've been competing against some of the best in the state of Missouri. These guys aren't just, LaTroy Harper, love the guy. I think this guy is an incredible athlete, and I don't take anything away from him.
But Class 1 and 2 schools.
But playing at Hamilton High School, you don't know how that's going to translate at the Division II level. Man, these guys have been playing some of the best in the state. Tyler Miller, no exception. Staley High School, 2-time first-team All-State. 89 tackles, 32.5 tackles for loss, and 14 sacks there at Staley. I mean, also leading his team to a Class 5 state title. I really like this guy. I was able to talk to him a little bit. Seems like a really good, great stand-up individual. But once again, a D lineman, big 240, 6'3" guy from Staley. I mean, that just screams a guy that Coach Wright just loves.
Yeah, track guy. So he did all-state performer in track as well, all-district, all-conference, I guess, in track. I know, Trevor, there's a couple guys from Iowa that you might know a little bit about, including the younger brother of Jacob Volstead, Isaac Volstead from Regina High School up in Iowa City.
Yeah, as we knew in covering Volstead, Iowa City Regina is one of the most dominant programs in the state. Just about everything, whether it's from women's volleyball to football, and I think this is a good get for them. Yeah, soccer, everything, literally everything except wrestling. Private schools I don't understand it. Private schools in Iowa dominate everything except wrestling and track, and it doesn't make sense, but that's the way it works. But yeah, I like this gift for them a lot. He broke a lot of his brother's previous records at Iowa City Regina. He has the bloodline, so I think he's going to come into Maryville knowing what to expect.
And then, of course,
I love the 45-yard field goal story.
Yeah, he just goes up there like, I've never done it before, but just kind of did it because I can. So it's what Volstads do, just kind of go out there on the field and do whatever.
He's won a state soccer championship. Like, what is that? Dude's not even a kicker. Like, he's a linebacker, right?
Yep, linebacker.
What's he got doing? I just love to be on that recruit visit.
Fly.
And I'd be with the coaching staff, and he's like, hey, watch this. He kicks a 45-yard field goal. I just think that's amazing.
And, of course, they got a guy from Albia, Iowa. I said that right this time, right, Trevor?
It is Albia.
Yep. Hunter Gers, you've probably seen him play as well.
I have not seen him play.
You haven't seen him play?
Nope. Albia is a little bit too far east for me to have seen a ton of. But
one last guy before we go. Just one guy I really want to talk about, AJ Sy. They list him at 6'4", 300. Rich Wright, he said 6'5", 340. I'm going to go with Rich Wright on this one. He's a big old boy up in Iowa.
Yeah, he's he's big.
Country strong?
Yeah, I don't know for sure if he's country strong, but he's a big boy, and I think when he comes down here and he gets in the program, I think Joe Q's gonna whip him into shape. I think you'll see him drop some. I think you'll see him maybe play around 310, something like that.
That's probably what they're hoping for.
I think he drops below 300.
But still, I mean, with that kind of build, if you can teach him how to, not saying he doesn't, but if you teach him how to work out properly and diet properly the way they want him to, this dude could be a hog on the front line.
I'm excited about him. I was talking to a friend of his from high school. Apparently this guy would play a football game and go to Casey's, order a large pizza, eat it all himself. And so he'd lose 10 pounds, then gain the 10 pounds right back after eating that pizza. I think this guy, once he gets on that Joe Q diet, I think, like you said, he's going to cut at least 30, 40, 50 pounds.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Definitely something they can mold into what they want there with him, just being so big and having that frame already. Coach Wright talks about it all the time, but if they have the frame and they have all this stuff right there, they can build on that frame and make them and mold them into the athlete they want. So they like those guys that can kind of build a little bit around.
Well, and they did that with the Phillips kid.
Spencer Phillips.
He came in and he wasn't super big. And he played linebacker and defensive back in high school. And running back,
the D-tackle
and they
now.
turned him into a D-tackle. I mean, he gained a lot of weight, but they did it properly, and they built him into a stalwart on the front seven.
I remember I was Spencer's RA, and I remember seeing this kid. I was like, man, this guy's a little small. And I just remember how he progressed, and I just saw him this last year, and I walked up to him to do just a small interview with him, and I was like, holy crap, this dude has grown. He's massive now. I just remembered him. I remember him as a freshman, and now where he's at now, like you said, Trevor, is one of the key parts of this team. I like him. I like him a lot. I like Spencer.
And then the last guy I got for you, Trevor, out of Glenwood, Iowa, Andrew Bloom, a 6'3" linebacker. What do you got about that? I know you guys cover Glenwood up in KMA, don't you? He's a pretty good linebacker.
He's just a good athlete in general. He's averaging over 12 points a game on the basketball floor. He was also their quarterback. Ran for over 1,000 yards. I believe he played more defensive back than he did linebacker at Glenwood. And that's a team that has, I think, like 5 or 6 guys that are playing football somewhere, including some at the Division I, well, the FCS level. They have a couple guys going to South Dakota State. So that's a good program up there. And they get they seem to do a good job of tapping into that Southwest Iowa pipeline when you think of Clayton Wilson, Spencer Phillips' younger brother, Sam. I believe Seth played there as well. So they've done a good job tapping into that. And I think Bloom has a potential to be a playmaker a couple years down the road.
And one thing that I always have to get to, because I cover a lot more 8-man high school in this Missouri area, and there was 4 kids this year who went D2, and 3 went to Northwest. The other one, Caleb Patterson from North Andrew, a receiver, he went to Missouri Western. But the other 3 guys that I've heard of, Ryan Dewhurst, tight end out of Rockport, 6'2", 230. He's going to go play tight end at Northwest. He's going to be more off-the-line tight end, H-back kind of thing. And then, of course, what?
I haven't seen Dewhurst play football, but I've seen Dewhurst play basketball. And he's just kind of a physical player, so it doesn't surprise me that he could have success at tight end level here at Northwest.
And he's going to have to – he was an all-state tight end and defensive end in high school. He's going to have to definitely bulk up a little bit and get used to the speed there, of course, from 8-man to D2. And Coach Wright really talked about being patient with some of these guys who are making this transition. Also, Devin Jackson, he played nose tackle in high school. Now he's going to play offensive line. He's 6'5", 300. He was a big old boy for 8-man football. He definitely manned that line that led Worth County to a state title. He was big. And then, of course, his cohort, Drake Kinsella, who was 6'3", 230, and was more of their pulling guard. He's going to play D-line here at Northwest. Another guy who just explodes from the defensive line. 3 years all-state at D-line and on defensive line, and twice on the offensive line. Just a really good guy. And I watched him play basketball this past just 2 weeks ago. He's 6'3", 230. He was guarding the other team's point guard during the game. You don't see that a whole lot where you're a big man, you're 4 or 5 guys guarding the other guy's point guard and shutting him down because he has that lateral foot speed. So he's a really good athlete. Give him some time to develop in a junk queue, and it's going to be a transition, of course, from 8-man to D2, and I know, Isaiah, you were like those big school guys because they're already used to kind of that level of competition and stuff like that, so be patient with some of these guys. I just like seeing the guys make the transition from 8-man to college football because it gives guys at small schools hope that they can make the next level.
Well, and the thing with this program, too, is, I mean, how many people come in as a freshman and make an impact? I mean, most of these kids are a little bit of projects.
Yeah.
You know, but that's okay. I mean, they got a handful. I'm sure a handful of these kids will probably redshirt this year. You know,
probably
not
most
all
of them.
I'd say most of them redshirt. They probably won't play much as freshmen, but by their sophomore year, I mean, that's still 2 years of being in the weight room and understanding the culture and stuff before they can probably become a really valuable part of this team.
What you also have to remember is Wright, I think, was it 2 or 3 red shirts he pulled this last year?
Yeah, that's more than usual.
Yeah,
that's weird, right? And I don't think it was because something, just unbelievable happened. But I do think that is a testament to say that Coach Wright's not afraid to pull a red shirt on a guy if he's ready. I think some of these guys may be ready. I don't know. We could see. I think that the long-standing tradition is that they don't pull, and you look at the injuries and you look at the inconsistencies in the field goal game, like that's why those red shirts were pulled in the end. But I think it's interesting that we're sitting here. Yeah, this is what they've done, but this last year was a little different, and with Coach Wright at the helm, like he could once again see someone that he really likes, like a LaTroy Harper type guy if he really likes him, or maybe
you talk about two of the big guys who actually had, like, I think it was Zach Howard out of Bolivar High School, 6'3", 310 pounds. He's like, this guy, I don't usually like playing guys early, but this guy could get early playing time. There's a couple guys that he mentioned in this class that were that ready almost to go from high school to college and get some playing time earlier than expected with some of these guys. And with 38 guys coming into your recruiting class, you're going to have a couple guys like that because you recruited so well in this area. And, of course, Joseph Andrews, our producer, has a graphic for Northwest and who they recruited this year. Missouri, 15 kids, Nebraska, 6, Iowa, 5, Kansas, 4, Florida and Illinois, both 3, then Arkansas and California, both 1 apiece. So they recruited this area heavily in this four-corner area where Northwest is at. We're going to take a break. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at X106_sports and at KNWT8. When we come back, Isaiah Swan will stay with us. We'll bring in Kramer to talk about Bearcat basketball, a little bit about the spring sports, too, with baseball and softball next here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff on KZLX, KNWT Channel 8, and KNWT Facebook Live. And welcome back to the Weekend Sports Kickoff on KZLX, KNWT Channel 8, and KNWT Facebook Live. I'm Devin Albertson, and I am joined by Jacob Blair, Kramer Sandstone, and Northwest Missourian sports editor Isaiah Swan. We just talked about signing day for the football team. Now it's time to talk about the other sports in Northwest. We're going to start with Bearcat basketball and also touch on the baseball and softball teams. But Bearcat basketball, the women, they lost on Wednesday to Emporia State, while the men came away with a victory. The women lost 76-62, while the men won 55-50. We're going to start with the men here, as they got a big game Saturday versus Washburn. It's for the lead in the conference. Both teams come in 12-2 in conference play. Northwest overall 20-2, Washburn 18-5. This is the only matchup in the conference play between these two teams, as Northwest won a non-conference matchup against Washburn earlier this year down in Municipal Auditorium in Kansas City, 86-78. This is in Washburn, in Topeka. Should be a fun game, and these two teams match up well. Northwest has a tough matchup here with Washburn.
Yeah, and it's just been some mixed results the last couple games. Like the last 4 games they've won by 34, 31, 20, and 5. And so you look, okay, what were those big point advantages? Well, you played some lower MIAA teams, and then you're like, okay, like how good is Emporia State? You look at Emporia State. Well, they're the third worst team in the conference too. So I don't know. I don't know what you pull away from those games. I really don't know what you do. But I think what we do know is that Washburn's a well-coached program, and I think that you do not just because they're second in the conference, but because every year for the past 6 years they've had a 5-point game against them. And so this is a team that historically plays Northwest close, and this is I think we learn a lot from this game, whether they win or lose.
Yeah, and one thing with the Emporia State game is you're playing a lower level MIAA team, and we all know what's Saturday. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you're playing 6th grade basketball, D2 college basketball, or D1 college basketball. When you have something like that, you can tell yourself not to look ahead, but you're going to look ahead.
Yeah.
And it could have just been that they were looking ahead, preparing for Washburn, because it's a big game on Saturday.
Yeah, definitely there with Washburn. And one thing I want to say with Washburn, they have their big guy, Brady Skeens. He's a stud on the inside, averages 14.4 points per game, 10.7 rebounds, 2.3 blocks per game, shoots almost 75% from the field. This guy is really dynamic in the post play, and he's going to give Doherty a lot of trouble in there. He had a nice game versus Northwest the first time they played, but he's also surrounded by some pretty good guards. Javion Blake's probably their best guard, scores 15 points a game, shoots about 43% from 3. Tyus Martin off the bench averages just under 11 points, shoots 58% from the field. And then Cameron Wiggins has struggled this year. Last year he averaged about 12 points a game. This year he's down to about 8, but he's another dynamic guard for Washburn. This team does a nice job with that 4 guards, 1 post lineup, that 4 out, 1 in. They do a nice job of highlighting schemes in their offense, and they're just really tough to stop, and they play really good defense. So it should be a fun matchup.
And, of course, Northwest has already beaten Washburn once, but we all know usually when you beat one team, you're going to lose to them. And I'm hoping by, Northwest did not look good when they played Emporia.
No, struggled.
If this struggling happens this coming game against Washburn, Washburn's going to go through Northwest, and I don't want that to happen, of course. But they just need to get their shot down, because of course, with that the second half of against Emporia, we did great. We did great shooting. Three points wasn't there. 3-point percentage wasn't there. But if we just keep driving in the lane, get fouls, hit free throws, do a ground and pound on this on the court, we should easily beat Washburn. I'm
just wondering what we can really take away from a lot of the season, because there are games where Northwest just plays incredible, and whenever Northwest plays their ceiling, they're the best team in the country. They are. There's no one that's better. There's no one.
You saw that versus Lincoln Memorial.
McCollum even said it. The head coach of the team even said, "There's no one that can beat us when we're playing at our best." And I don't think that's cockiness. I think he's a smart coach. But whenever they're bad, and they have been bad some games, you just don't know. And it's not that they're bad talent-wise. Don't hear me say that they're bad talent-wise.
It's the execution.
It's the energy. Whenever they lost to Missouri Southern, they said, Coach McCollum said they played like a 6 or 7, and the other team played like a 10. Same thing with Nebraska Kearney, played like a 6 or 7, scored 59 points. That's just not gonna get the job done. I think it's a really tough job. I remember talking to McCollum about this earlier in the year, and how whenever a team hits the peak of a mountain, if they're climbing Mount Everest, that's great. If we were all to go climb Mount Everest, that'd be one of the greatest experiences of our lives.
Exhausting.
But if we were to get back, a week later, and then 6 months down the road, hey, let's go do it again, would we not just be dreading it? I would not want to do it.
No.
I'd probably maybe even back out. And so what McCollum has to do is instill in them just even more motivation to want to climb this mountain again. And I know that the mountain doesn't really start until after the MIAA tournament because they are basically a lock for the big
to make
dance.
the regional, yeah.
And so it's just a matter of, man, what can we learn from this Washburn game? How do they play? Do they have the energy that's required? But yeah, taking that all into account, there's just a lot.
Got to treat this game like it's a NCAA tournament game.
Oh, yes.
You've got to go in there going, okay, this is a chance to put up another banner. It's only an MIAA regular season banner, but it's another chance to put up a banner. You win this game, you then control your own destiny the rest of the MIAA. You have to treat it, go in with the mindset that it's the NCAA tournament. If you don't win, you go home, because if you lose this game, you're probably going to lose hosting the regional. You probably will end up losing the regular season MIAA championship. You've got to treat this like it's a really big game.
And McCollum wants it. McCollum wants it more than anything. Even whenever we talked to him after, I remember last year, whenever Zach Schneider hit that buzzer beater in the semifinals of the tournament game, and then they won the tournament title, he was like, that's okay. It's kind of like whenever Bill Belichick accepted the AFC Championship trophy this year. He was kind of like, But whenever he gets like these like you said, these banners for regular season titles, he likes those a lot more. And
He has 5 right now.
Yeah, and I think he likes those a lot more. And why? Well, of course, it takes an entire season. They're 20-2 right now. It takes a lot of games to win that. I think it only takes three wins in the MIAA tournament to get the title there, Devin. I think that's correct.
So I think for the 1 seed it is.
Yeah, and so if they are that 1 seed, I think 3. Yeah, a lot nicer than it is 3 if you're the 1 seed. 3 is a lot nicer than 20.
And he has 2 of those right now, MIAA postseason titles, and 5 regular season titles. So you can see that right there. He wants that right there. And of course, the 1 national championship last year. And one thing, if you look here with what Jacob said, if you want to host the regional, you have to win your conference.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of almost like a prerequisite that's not really set in there. But you can't have 3 losses and be the second best team in your conference and then host over a 1-loss Southern Nazarene team who won the Great American Conference and be like, well, we think Northwest is the better team, but Southern Nazarene gets the 1 seed. So that's kind of a struggle there with that. You have to win some of these. You have to win these games. There's only 5 games left in the regular season. You have to win out. It's that simple.
And their resume's good. They've beaten a lot of tough MIAA schools, and they've beaten Washburn on the road. They smashed Lincoln Memorial. That's their greatest win on their schedule, 70-56. That's a great win. That's probably their best win. And if the committee doesn't really recognize that, that's an embarrassment to the
number 1 team in the nation right now.
That's incredible. That's a really good win on their schedule. And if you're telling me that if you're debating whether to put a 2-loss Northwest team or to host a 1-loss Southern Nazarene team, I'm taking the Northwest team every time.
Definitely.
And what I want to add to about them already beating Washburn when they were in Kansas City, so they're able to beat Washburn outside of Maryville. And so this is actually giving them the upper hand on this because they're just going to go and treat it like it was Kansas City.
I was at that game. There was a lot of green. There was a lot of green in Municipal that night.
That's good.
So it kind of was a little bit of a home game for Northwest.
I'm just saying for the feel.
For most of that game at Municipal, Northwest struggled with Washburn. It wasn't until about 10 minutes to go when Justin Pitts decided to take over the game that they pulled away. And Washburn's a good team. Mm-hmm. You can't take that away from Washburn. And going to Topeka, either way this game goes, it's probably going to be one of the most exciting MIAA games of the year.
Goodbye from the weekend sports kickoff, as I think it was a successful show today. We'll give ourselves a little clap on the back here, as we actually have some sound effects coming in a little bit more this week, trying to get all that going. So we're off for now. We'll see you next Friday from 2 to 5 here on the weekend sports kickoff. Devin Albertson here. Thank you for watching this week's edition of the Weekend Sports Kickoff. You want some more hot takes? Click here. Want reasons for our hot takes? You need to watch Bearcat Update. Right down here. But really, we just want you to watch us. Thank you. We appreciate your viewership here on KNWT and KZLX. Have a good weekend. We will see you next week here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff.